Kore te koutou. Everyone ready? Okay. Ka pai o, tēnā rā koutou, i whakawātea mai a koutou mō te hui nei. E tūmanako ana ka whakautua katoa a koutou pātai e piata mai ai tō tono. Kia ora koutou, welcome to our webinar. We have on the call myself, Nadia Marsh from Te Māngai Pāho and Kelly Davis from NZ On Air. And Suzanne from the NZ On Air comms team is with us as well to help make sure your questions get answered today. So it's our pleasure to have you with us. Today, if you do have a question, please just chuck it in the chat. You can also raise your hand, this physical one or the little Zoom icon one, and Suzanne will make sure that we come to you with that question. So, well, the purpose of us being here today is to learn more about the co-fund that NZ On Air and Te Māngai Pāho are putting on. And it is a bit of a response to some research that's been done, which says that 71% of public funding is for non-fiction content. So this year's co-fund is heavily geared towards content that is scripted. It has to be te reo Maori. It has to be very, very high quality. And we are open to receiving non-fiction applications, but yeah, the real focus is on the scripted content. And Kelly's going to talk more about what that looks like.
Kia ora. So as Nadia said so well, the emphasis is on that higher end scripted content. So what we want to see in your applications is that your project is ready for production. So you should have at least a pilot script finished, as well as a season outline or character arcs for your characters. The Te Reo Maori requirement is 30% or more. And we are looking, this next point is about platforms. So you should have a local free-to-air platform attached to your project for its first run. And if you've got an international digital platform attached, that's great. You can have that as a secondary platform. If you've got any pātai about platform attachments, reach out to us before you submit your application and we can answer those. We are accepting all genres of scripted content as well. Because the kaupapa of this round is around redressing that balance around scripted Māori content, we acknowledge that development is necessary as well. So this round will be open to scripted development as well. You should have a platform attached to your project. We welcome co-investment from your platform, but they don't need to match fund the amount that you're asking for from this co-fund. What we really want to see in your scripted development applications is information about how additional development will get your project ready for production. And we want to see that you have a really good understanding of what development still needs to take place in order for your project to be that much more ready. We are open to scripted development applications for whatever amount of funding you think is appropriate, up to $30,000 per project. Like I said before, you can get your platform to contribute to that, but they don't need to match funds. So if you're asking for 30,000 from this co-fund, you don't need your platform to also contribute 30,000. Let's move on to non-fiction. Do we have questions though, Suzanne, that we need to answer? No, okay. Let's move on to non-fiction then. So as Nadia said, the emphasis of the round is on scripted. So we will look at non-fiction applications, but they need to meet quite a high bar. So in order for that to happen, we're looking for non-fiction projects that have quite a high proportion of te reo Māori. So 30% certainly and above, but if you've got more, that's going to help. We'd like to see strong commitment from your platform. The applications that are likely to be more successful in the non-fiction space should convince us that they are going to need quite a lot of research in order to tell the story. We're looking for creatively ambitious non-fiction stories that tell a compelling story as well.
And the next part is my part, Kelly, which is the Māori content part, because it's one of the questions that comes up a lot. And like, what is Māori content? And so for this round, we've defined it in this way. It's about having the right people telling the story. Do you have the mana to tell the story? Are you connected to people that have this experience, or they whakapapa to the story? It also needs to have a Māori worldview, which in my view is, it's not just tikanga, so it's not just about being tika about the way Māori are presented on screen. It's also just about what's normal in te ao Māori, things that when you're a Māori person, you don't think twice about. We want to see that and have those views, even if the story is in a Pākehā or non-Māori context. Is the Māori person authentically Māori? Te reo Māori, it should be natural and genuine, and basically we can tell when it's natural and genuine when a native speaker is in the experience of the story and doesn't get a shock at a particular kupu being in the wrong place, or it's out of context. And it's the same with that craft of te reo Māori. It's when a really fluent person is enjoying it and they're in the flow with the characters, but also somebody who's learning the language can pick up enough, the kupu are familiar enough, and in the context of what's on screen, a learner can pick up what's going on. And then, of course, we want to see Māori people on screen telling Māori stories, and they should be involved in the background from the very beginning. So the ideation all the way through to developing the scripts and maybe selecting the music that goes with some of your scenes, all the way through the process. Do we have any questions on that?
Not specifically on that. We've got some other questions coming through, but I think, not on that slide specifically.
Well, we're nearly at the end of the slideshow, so we
You
might as well
carry
do
on,
questions at the end.
Yeah, good idea.
It really just, te reo Māori is what Te Māngai Pāho funding is for. So there's a real emphasis on having good Reo Maori in your scripts. And then it just comes down to the timeline. We're through the first 3 stages already. And the next date that's important to you is the closing date, which is Feb 15th. It's a Thursday. Please don't come to us on the Friday and go, oh no, because it will be too late. And then we'll notify decisions in April and June 30 for contracting. So if you've got any third-party funders, partners, they need to be all locked in well before 30 June, so we have time to write the contract for you. All right, I'll stop sharing that. Bring our pretty faces onto screen.
Right, is that questions, is it? Okay.
Questions.
So we've had some questions come through. One was that, can we put in the same proposal for this co-fund as well as New Zealand On Air Round Toru 2024? If so, is it 2 separate applications?
I think yes, it would have to be 2 separate applications. If it were me, perhaps I would put them into both. There's nothing to stop that from happening. But if you'd like to have a conversation with either Te Māngai Pāho or New Zealand On Air before you do that, that might be good too, if you want to save yourself that bit of extra mahi. But we can't tell you which one to put it in, but we can advise you or answer any questions you might have. There's nothing to stop you from putting them into both, I think is the message.
Oh, just the only thing would be with Te Māngai Pāho, the minimum 30% reo requirement would have to be adhered to. And for Aroha Mai, I'm Hepere, I'm a funding advisor for New Zealand On Air, so sorry to jump in. And then for Round Toru, it's specifically Māori-owned production companies, but there is no reo minimum requirement in that particular round.
Te Māngai Pāho encourages you to put Te Reo Maori projects into NZ On Air too.
As do we, absolutely. So that's why I say have a conversation with us, because we might be able to answer a question that helps you figure out which is the right route for your project. But if it was one that had no obvious route, then presumably you could put it into both.
Right. Thank you for that. Another question was whether there's any development funding for non-fiction in this co-fund. Did you mention that? No. Yeah.
No, there isn't.
No. Okay. And Finn is asking, is this a one-off round or will this return next year, later this year? Well, yes.
So we see this round as something that we will do annually. So we are TMP and New Zealand On Air are planning to do this co-fund certainly for the next 3 years, and we're going to align it with NZ On Air's round rua from our next financial year. So that's the sort of September round that has the decisions at the end of November. So it'll be slightly different timing from next year to this one, but we will continue to have it in the future. Is that your understanding too, Nadia?
Yes, it is.
Great.
Excellent. Nicole is asking if there's a quota on how many proposals a production company can submit.
Good question. Te Māngai Pāho will take 2 proposals per company.
And she's also asking that in terms of third-party funding for the proposal, is a letter of intent enough?
I mean, it's fine at application, right, Kelly? It will just come down to contracting. So we'll need it confirmed by contracting.
Yeah.
Those are all the questions in the chat. If you've got any more, feel free to pop them in, those of you listening. Or, of course, put your hand up physically or using your icon. Or else you've obviously been very thorough, Nadia and Kelly.
Past hui is a good hui.
It looks like we've got a question in the chat.
Oh, yes.
From
Sorry,
Nicole.
you can see that, yes. For next year's fund, will the genre remain the same or will it change? Thank you.
So Nicole, are you asking whether the emphasis will be on the scripted in next year's fund? Let's assume so.
Yeah, I'm guessing that too.
I think it's too early for us to know for next year. But that's something that we will look to figure out and signpost as early as possible. But it'll probably be more when we're planning the next financial year. Oh, no worries. Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, I wish I knew. I wish I could tell you definitively, but I think the honest answer is that we don't know.
No further questions? Anything else, people? No.
Oh, karawe. Oh, well. E mihi ana ki a koutou e hono mai ki tēnei hui. Mena he pātai au tukuna atu i tētahi imara kia Junia at Te Māngai Pāho. So Junia at tmp.govt.nz. If we're all done. Tēnā koutou. Kia pai te rā.
Kia ora.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.
Kia ora tātou.
There we go. Just us. Well, there we go.
That was really
very
quick.
Yeah.
What a muck around, man.